I spent 5 months working on a video which was removed by a 5-minute takedown request, and I've been fighting it for over 5 days to no avail. I think it might be the most unbelievable fraudulent copyright takedown ever done on YouTube. Let me explain to you the short version. My video was taken down for infringing upon a user-created asset for a Roblox idle game. This appeared in my video for 8 seconds when I showed a screenshot of a Reddit post which contained a video of the asset. If you've watched the video I made, you might be confused and asked, when did Fireport show a Roblox asset in the video? But here's the thing, the Roblox asset which was used to take my video down wasn't even an original design by the person who sent the copyright takedown. They plagiarized it from another game, Clash of Clans. That's right, they sent a copyright takedown on my video for something that wasn't even really theirs to begin with. But this gets much worse, because the copyright takedown wasn't sent by the subject of the video, Vadim Starigan. He reported my video multiple times, and immediately after these reports were declined for being obviously fraudulent, a report was sent using his son's name. This is unbelievable because something you need to understand about fraudulent copyright takedowns is that they are a crime. He either wrote his son's name into this copyright takedown form or was conspiring with his son to commit a literal crime, destroying hundreds of hours of work and silencing criticism against him. If you haven't watched the video, it was about how the subject of the video took advantage of children and exploited them to work for him. And you can see this is continuing to happen as he's weaponizing his son to commit crimes on his behalf. This is the most insane shit I've ever seen regarding copyright on YouTube, but it still gets worse, because I've sent multiple counterclaims to YouTube clearly explaining why this was not copyright infringement, it's journalism, it's fair use. Each time, YouTube has declined my counterclaim, stating, quote, "Unfortunately, it's unclear to us whether you have a valid reason for filing a counter notification." This video is still down as of now because YouTube refuses to honor what is a legal DMCA counterclaim. As a service provider, they are legally supposed to honor these counterclaims, but they refuse to. They honor the claim against me taking down hundreds of hours of work, no question, but won't honor my counterclaims. This is absolute insanity, and that's the short version of the story. Watch till the end, because the long version is going to be even fucking worse. Let's start from the beginning. I made a video about Mr. Vadim, also known as Vadim Starigan, a Russian game development teacher working with children as young as 10 years old. He's known for scamming people to get his games through the Steam Greenlight system, and then after the fact arguing that the victims were the ones trying to scam him. This was an extensive video, nearly 2 hours long, with 450 some citations. Probably the most important point of the video was that Vadim was taking advantage of children by publishing games that they, by his own admission, had worked on, without giving them proper credit. In most cases, he took sole credit for the work that they did, stating that he made the games alone. I didn't just bring this up for fun or curiosity's sake either. I brought it up because to this day, Vadim is still actively doing it. In fact, Vadim had received an award from his city for his creativity as a game developer, despite that he had inarguably plagiarized the vast majority of his content. In the video, I showed inarguable proof that he was teaching students to plagiarize from other games. He literally had a folder filled with screenshots of a game he was plagiarizing from and published a lesson where he tabbed back and forth between those screenshots of the game and his own game code. He was copying directly out of that game into his own in front of students in a lesson. Vadim even had his 10-year-old daughter drawing lewd artwork for one of his games. He posted this artwork to Reddit, and when commenters celebrated the character's large proportions, he joined in with them. It sounds insane, but that's because it is. That's why I made a lengthy video proving all of my statements. Anyway, following the release of the video, Vadium responded, creating numerous incredibly manipulative and misleading arguments. I thoroughly debunked everything in a follow-up video, where I also documented how he began harassing my wife alongside his mother. In Vadium's response, he crafted the narrative that I was attacking his family, which was slander that everyone knew was completely false. In reality, I only mentioned his collaborations with his children, primarily the lewd artwork I just spoke of, but his family was never at any point the focus of the video. My discussions about his family were 2 paragraphs in a nearly 20,000 word script. I censored images of his family and did not include any of their personal information. In fact, they were, and evidently still are, victims of his behavior, and I would never invite harassment against any of his family. But Vadium did exactly what he was accusing me of. He harassed my wife, and even linked her account to his followers. In response to my follow-up video, Vadium realized how blatantly hypocritical his behavior was, so he deleted his comments. Vadium made a cry for help on Reddit, once again claiming I was harassing him and his family, and also posted this cry for help to Russian Telegram group chats. The Reddit post was deleted by moderators within a few hours. As for the Telegram chat, someone from this chat ended up watching the video, realized Vadium is a scumbag, and warned me about the messages he was sending. When Vadium realized that slandering my name would get him nowhere, and no one cared, he took to reporting my video. The first report I already touched on in a previous video. In the report, he claimed I violated his privacy and doxed him from the very first second of the video to the very last second. This was interesting since the last half hour of the video was about another account, Vadium God, which he claimed was not his account. Now, when a privacy complaint is made about a YouTube video, the YouTuber is given time to remove the offending content by blurring out faces or removing audio. I did nothing because my video didn't dox him. After a week, it was pretty clear that YouTube wasn't going to follow up on the report. Thus, on May 10th, another report was sent, this time a copyright takedown request. I received an email notifying me of it, but YouTube didn't take the video down. YouTube told me, quote, "We received a copyright infringement notification regarding your video. We believe your content is protected by fair use, fair dealing, or a similar exception to copyright protection. We are writing to let you know we do not plan to remove your video." Well, that's a first, isn't it? A copyright takedown request so bad that even YouTube wouldn't honor it. Let's take a look at the form Vadium sent. Under copyright owner, Vadium puts a link to his YouTube channel. That's the first line of the copyright takedown request, and he already fucked it up. Now, in a copyright takedown request, you have to point to a work that was infringed, like a piece of art or a song or something else. In this case, he says the video infringed upon some of his Facebook photos. Now, these photos were his, so he does have copyright for them, and I did include them in the video. But there's this thing called fair use or fair dealing. In my case, it's fair dealing because I'm Canadian, but it's effectively the same thing. In some cases, such as this one, because it's a video of investigative journalism, fair dealing applies. But Vadium infringed people's copyright all the time. As I mentioned in the video, he taught his students how to copy things straight out of other people's games. And after working on the project with students, he would publish those games to Steam. Just look at Royal Merchant. He was doing it on video. That is copyright infringement. Now let me show you real quick just how simple it is to send a copyright takedown request. Since I'm a speedrunner, I'll do a speedrun. I found a user who had re-uploaded a video of mine in full without any modification or asking me for permission. Watch. That's right, you can take a YouTube video down in under 10 seconds. And I didn't even practice. That's how effortless DMCA takedowns are. But here's the important part. Because when you submit a DMCA takedown, you have to tick these 3 checkboxes. They state, I have a good faith belief that the use of the material in the manner complained of is not authorized by the copyright owner. In other words, you agree that this is about copyright and not, for example, about silencing criticism. Also, the information in this notification is accurate, and under the penalty of perjury, I am the owner of an exclusive right that is allegedly infringed. This is an agreement that what you wrote is accurate, or you are committing perjury. Finally, I understand that the abuse of this tool may result in the termination of my YouTube account. Vadium sent a copyright takedown request against my video, and it failed. These 3 checkboxes are the reason why he didn't send another under his own name. He knew that he had technically committed a crime, and he also knew that it put his YouTube channel in jeopardy. Vadium's YouTube channel is over a decade old and hosts his game development lessons. If I were him, I would be worried about that account, especially since he had also sent a bogus privacy report a week prior. But it would probably be fine if someone else sent a copyright takedown in his stead. Well, the very next day, after the copyright takedown request was denied on May 10th, a copyright takedown request was sent again using his son's name. Now, let me be clear. I believe he is manipulating his family in the same way that he manipulated his mother to go after my wife. In that sense, they might be the biggest victims of his behavior. No one should go after his family because of this, period. Since, after all, the takedown request worked. And this is where it gets absolutely insane. Not just because he's a 40-year-old man who had been hiding behind his mother, who is now hiding behind his son. It's because the justification for this takedown request was even worse than before. Now let me explain. Vadium and his son, at some point, worked on a Roblox idle game together, the name of which I don't even know. His son allegedly created an animated 3D asset called Void Machine for that game. It's not bad for a kid's project, but you can tell the asset was made by a child. Vadium posted a video of this asset to Reddit. In my original video about Vadium, I showed a screenshot of that Reddit post. The reason why was because it concerned the narrative that Vadium was making games with his children. This was essential to talk about as it was a segue into talking about the lewd artwork his daughter made for his game. So let me paint an image for you. His son supposedly sent a copyright takedown over an asset made for a Roblox game, which was seen in a Reddit post that his father made. In case you don't understand the absurdity of this, let me explain in detail. This is what you would call a misidentification of copyright infringement, since the use of the work is obviously protected by fair use or fair dealing. My video was investigative journalism, but even in cases of journalism, the use of the work still has to be fair, as decided by a court, based upon a variety of factors. In this case, why don't you, the viewer, act as the court and decide for yourselves? First, I ask to you, was my work transformative? Remember, the original work was an asset for a Roblox idle game. Mine was an investigative journalism video. Second, did my work borrow too much from the original work? Remember, I showed a screenshot, a still image of a scripted animated 3D asset from a video game. Third, was there public interest in disseminating the material? Let me ask you this. If your child was being taught by Vadium Sturygin, would you want to know if he was exploiting the labor of your child? Fourth, does my use of the work affect the market demand for the original work? Well, Do you think there's market demand for their fucking Roblox game asset to begin with? In my opinion, there's no argument to be made that this wasn't fair use or fair dealing. If you want examples of real copyright infringement, find any game that Vodium has ever published. That is copyright infringement. I bet you think it ends there. No. In fact, it gets even worse. Remember how I mentioned that Vodium was teaching his students to plagiarize other games, the same way he copied Slay the Spire, Robokill, Merchant, and more. That was also the case for Void Machine, the asset his son claimed infringed his copyright. It wasn't an original work in the first place. It's the level 1 elixir collector from Clash of Clans. It was remodeled, the equivalent of tracing someone's art, but every aspect of the design, every color, every shape is the exact same. They claimed I infringed the copyright of a work that wasn't even their original work in the first place. Now, it was apparently made by a kid, so I'm not concerned about the fact that it was plagiarized. The point isn't that it's the kid's fault. The problem is exactly what I said in the video, that Vodium was teaching kids to copy other people's work. This was already known from his lessons teaching students to plagiarize Merchant, but the fact that he was even teaching his own kids to do this is insane. Now, you'd think that counterclaiming this copyright takedown request would be pretty straightforward, but it isn't. As a result of the counterclaim, your address can get forwarded to the person who sent the report. This is so the claimant can take legal action against you if they choose to elevate the matter further. And to be clear, this isn't YouTube's fault. That's just how copyright law works. So my options were 1. To dox my address to a 40-year-old lunatic who is hiding behind his family. 2. Hire a lawyer who might cost more than just leaving the video down. Or 3. Send the request from an address which wasn't my home address, which is what I had to do. I sent the statement describing exactly what I explained here. In short, my use of the work was an exception to copyright infringement because it's protected by fair dealing. I explained why it was protected by fair dealing, and I explained the work they claimed I infringed was not an original work in the first place. YouTube declined the counterclaim. To be clear, I think YouTube gets a lot of flack for copyright matters that aren't really their fault, but this is different. As far as I know, they have no legal reason to decline my counterclaim. They should let the courts decide because that's how copyright takedowns are supposed to be decided, by the courts. YouTube wrote to me stating, "Unfortunately, it's unclear to us whether you have a valid reason for filing a counter notification, so we won't be able to honor your request." Counter notifications are only used when content was removed as a result of a mistake or misidentification. Let me pause here. That's exactly what I said it was in my statement, if they read it. Continuing. This includes a belief that your content is covered by copyright limitations or exceptions, such as fair use, fair dealing. Again, that's what I said it was. It seems like they didn't even read my statement. Let me give you my statement right now. Quote, "The use of the work Void Machine found during 1 hour and 8 minutes 45 seconds to 1 hour and 8 minutes 53 seconds of the video was misidentified as copyright infringement in a brazen attempt to silence criticism." For context, the video was concerning Vodium Sturrigan, or Vodium, a man who worked as a game development teacher and undeniably published works made by children under his own online aliases. Void Machine was a machine in Roblox allegedly created by his son to be used for a game they were working on together. Vodium posted an animation of Void Machine to Reddit on March 12th, 2021. The alleged infringement was a screenshot showing Vodium's Reddit post about Void Machine. This inarguably falls under fair dealing. The use of the work was transformative and critical to discuss as it concerns the narrative that Vodium was publishing the work of children. The amount of the work included in the video was minimal. It was merely a still image of an animated and scripted machine in a game. The use of the work does not compete with the market of the original work. Due to the ethical issues outlined above and the nature of Vodium's career as a teacher, there is significant public interest in the dissemination of this content. The author of the work was shown in the video. As well, the post was directly linked to in the sources document accompanying the video. Furthermore, Void Machine is a plagiarized version of the Level 1 Elixir collector from another video game, Clash of Clans. The fact that the author used Void Machine as the basis for a copyright takedown when it was not an original work in the first place demonstrates their bad faith in sending this takedown request. In short, I explained it was a misidentification, but YouTube told me it wasn't clear whether I had a valid reason to send the counterclaim. Those were the reasons. It feels like YouTube didn't even read my statement. It feels like it was just read by an AI. Sure enough, when I looked up how they evaluate copyright takedown claims, they state an AI reads it first. I don't know if counterclaims are evaluated the same way, but I'd assume that they are. For the longest time, I've said YouTube isn't really at fault for the terrible copyright takedown system. It's just the law. But there's no need for YouTube to make it more difficult for creators on their platform. I understand YouTube legally has to honor copyright takedown requests. It sucks, but that's how it is. They have to leave it to the legal system. But they're stepping in to protect a fraudulent copyright takedown against a YouTuber. It makes no sense. I just don't get how someone can instantly take down my video on the basis of a screenshot of a Roblox game asset, but I spend hours researching and preparing a statement, familiarizing myself with the law, and days figuring out what address the claim should come from or if I need a lawyer, and they immediately decline my counterclaims. Why is the level of scrutiny applied to my counterclaim greater than the level of scrutiny applied to the takedown? That video was in the works for 5 months and is the biggest project I've worked on in my life. The takedown requests can be done in under a minute. The fact that it's offline is costing me money every day. Anyway, let me just put this out there. I have every intention of moving on from this drama as soon as dipshit and his mom, son, uncle, auntie, daughter, or dog stop attacking my YouTube account. Fraudulent copyright takedowns are a crime. He is committing criminal acts against me. Paying the editor for that video cost $1,500 US. If someone entered my property and destroyed $1,500 worth of shit, that would be a pretty serious crime. And by the way, I spent $1,000 on security cameras all around my house as a result of this. You might think sending these takedowns is easy, and it is. It's also perjury, and you can spend years in jail for it. As entertaining as dipshit's responses have been, there were also real monetary damages done here. This is one of those times when you should take the L and move on. Something I'd thought Vodium should be used to by now. Obviously, I'm fighting this claim until the video is reinstated, and I appreciate everyone's support. Anyway, that's it for now. Take care, everyone. Bye.